It is in virtue of unity that beings are beings. When we look outside of that on which we depend, we ignore our unity. Looking outward, we see many faces. Look inward, and all is one head. If a man could but be turned about, he would see at once God and himself and the all. The soul, in its nature, loves God and longs to be at one with him in the noble love of a daughter for a noble father. But coming to human birth and lured by the courtships of this sphere, she takes up with another love. A mortal leaves her father and falls. The purification of the soul is simply to allow it to be alone. It is pure when it keeps no company. Wherever it lies, under earth or over earth, the body will always rot. To make the existence and coherent structure of this universe depend upon automatic activity and upon chance is against all good sense. Bad men rule by the feebleness of the ruled, and this is just. The triumph of weaklings would not be just. The first, then, should be compared to light. The next, spirit, or intellect, to the sun. And the third, soul, to the celestial body of the moon, which gets its light from the sun. Before we had our becoming here, we existed there. Men other than now, we were pure souls. Intelligence imbound with the entire of reality. Not fenced off. Integral to that all. Then it was as if one voice sounded. One word was uttered, and from every side an ear attended and received, and there was an effective hearing. Now we are become a dual thing, no longer that which we were at first, dormant, and in a sense, no longer present. The proof of the mightiest power is to be able to use the ignoble nobly, and given formlessness to make it the material of unknown forms. True satisfaction is only for what has its plenitude in its own being. Where craving is due to an inborn deficiency, there may be satisfaction at some given moment, but it does not last. Thus, with the good, we have the bad. We have the oppressed movements of a dancer guided by one artistic plan. We recognize in his steps the good as against the bad, and see that in the opposition lies the merit of the design. A gang of lads, morally neglected, and in that respect inferior to the intermediate class, but in good physical training, attack and throw another set, trained neither physically nor morally, and make off with their food and their dainty clothes. What more is called for than a laugh? The sphere of sense, the soul in its slumber. For all of the soul that is in the body is asleep. And the true getting up is not bodily, but from the body. In any movement that takes the body with it, there is no more than passage from sleep to sleep, from bed to bed. Those incapable of thinking gravely read gravity into frivolities which correspond to their own frivolous nature. Not even a god would have the right to deal a blow for the unwarlike. The law decrees that to come safe out of a battle is for fighting men, not for those that pray. The harvest comes home not for praying, but for tilling. We have no right to complain of the ennoble getting the richer harvest if they are the only workers in the fields, or the best. This is why we must break away towards the high. We dare not keep ourselves set towards the sensuous principle, following the images of sense, or towards the merely vegetative, intent upon the gratifications of eating and procreation. Our life must be pointed towards the intellective, towards the intellectual principle, towards God. For the soul is many things, is all, is above and the beneath to the totality of life. And each of us is an intellectual cosmos, linked to this world by what is lowest in us, but by what is highest to the divine intellect. By all that is intellective, we are permanently in that higher realm. But at the fringe of the intellectual, we are fettered to the lower. It is as if we gave forth from it some emanation towards that lower, or rather some act which leaves our diviner part not in itself diminished. What then is the achieved sage? One whose act is determined by the higher phase of the soul. The acting force in the sage is the intellective principle, the diviner phase of the human soul, which therefore is itself his presiding spirit, or is guided by a presiding spirit of its own. No other than the very divinity towards God and the all.